Hi everyone, I did promise I would make a video and tutorial about the Wappler Google Directions component. So here it is. I'm going to run through the basic database retrieval. We're going to setting up of the map, and then at the end we'll have a little bit of a play at what the different options within that component can do. Just to give you a quick insight into what we're looking to create. Brian's road trip planner, we'll start with an origin. We'll be starting near my hometown of Newcastle upon Tyne. We'll be then finishing there, and these are the different locations that we will be visiting while we're doing that. I'll be looking at intelligent routing, I'll be looking at alternative routes, and I might be just adding a few little extra places in here once we're finished. So let's make a very simple start. I've got a folder created here for the action files. I'm going to create that action file and I'm going to call this origin. Now this will obviously be the origin of my road trip, and I'm going to be passing some variables to these. In this case we're going to be passing the location where we're going to start. Nice simple stuff. I'm going to fly through this because you really should know this inside out by now. I'm going to add my database connection. I'm going to create a database query, and that query we're simply going to query that waypoints table, which also includes the origins, etc. We're going to want the lat, the lang, and I'll just throw the location in just as a visual indicator. And our criteria for that is the location must contain the location that we're going to be sending from App Connect. We're going to have exactly the same thing basically for the destination. So I'm going to be adding another action file, call that destination. Again, we'll need the location of that destination. We're going to have a database connection, and then we're going to need a database query. Wrong one. And it's going to be exactly the same as we did before. We'll be querying the waypoints table. We'll need the lat lang. I'm just going to drop the location in as well for you, and our criteria will be the location contains the location that we are going to send for App Connect. Okay, we'll save that one. Now we're going to be looking at the waypoints, which is really what this is all about. So we're going to be adding another action file here. When we look at the waypoints, we're going to add our steps in here. So that's going to be our connection. Really should go back to globals here because we're going to be passing this a different parameter. We're going to be calling this road trip. And this is the ID of the road trip. If you remember, I was going to show you the database structures. No, I haven't shown you the database structures yet. You'll understand why I'll be doing that in a minute. That will get the details of them. So before I go on any further, I better show you actually what data we're going to be working on. Here's a data table. The locations are really just there because we understand them better. Lat langs have already been done. I'm not going to do any geocoding on this module. I've done it before, so you should know your way around that. And a road trip ID just to show us which road trip that we're actually using. So our waypoints will be I'm going to add two more variables in there just to be safe. Origin and destination. So we're now set up a data query to get those waypoints between our origin and destination. So we've got a database query. Just as we did before, we're going to query the waypoints table. We want the lat lang. We'll include the location as well because visually it looks good. In this case, our road trip, because we only want those that are going to include it in this road trip, will be the value of road trip that we're sending to it. But we also want to make sure that we exclude the origin and destination, which could be the same, they could be totally different. So I'm going to add two more rules in there. I'm going to say that the waypoints location does not contain the origin, and the waypoints location does not contain the destination. I know that's a very simplistic way of doing things, but for instructional purposes, it's best not to make things too complicated. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sort on the latitude descending. What that means is we'll start at the top of the UK and work down towards the south. That's obviously an optional. And if we've got that right, now we should be able to create pretty well everything we need. So into our file manager, I'm going to create a new file. I always work with PHP files, just that's my habit. And we'll save that as roadtrip.php. Let's add those all-important frameworks, our App Connect and Bootstrap. So we're using Bootstrap quite a lot. And the first thing we're going to do is create some connections through to those server actions that we had. So our first server connect, we're going to call that con origin. And if we go into there, we're going to use that. Now you'll see as we had a get variable there, we've got a location, and I'm just going to send a text string of Newcastle. Don't forget those quotes. That's going to be our origin. I'm now going to add another database connection, and that is going to be con destination. We'll just call it dest because I'm lazy. And back road trip, our destination, and our location there is going to be again Newcastle because I'm returning back to where I came from. And then last one will be our waypoints. So again, server connect, con waypoints we'll call that, and that will be our road trip waypoints. It's going to be road trip 1. Again, we probably normally could do this from a drop down where you send different IDs from a select. Just going to keep things simple. Our origin is going to be Newcastle and our destination is going to be Newcastle. And that should cause those two to be excluded from the action that we've got. I'm just going to quickly save that. So right, let's go on, let's create a container and let's actually start doing a few bits and bobs. Now I'm going to just usual row column. I'm going to duplicate that 4 times because I'll be using this 4 times. First column, I'm just going to very quickly, as you can do within Wappler, create a database table. I'm going to do origin. There was obviously a problem there because we're not getting any data returned. So just cancel that. Let's just pop back over and have a look at that. Origin Newcastle. Let's have a look at that origin query. We actually forgot to write the query. Forgot to save it perhaps. Let's try that then. Told you these are warts and all, didn't I? Waypoints, we want a lat, we want a lang, we'll throw a location at it. Our conditions is that the waypoints location contains the location that's been sent. Save that. Hopefully now our generator will actually have some data. That's better. And I'm just going to happily leave it like that. We'll just have a lat lang location. Why have I done that? Simply so you can see what you've got there. I think I'll just drop in a paragraph in above that, and it'll just say origin, just so we know exactly what we got there. Now we're going to do the same thing with the next couple of containers. Into the column, quickly into generators, bootstrap table, populate with destination. We've actually got some data on that one, thank goodness. Okay, again I'll just drop a bit of content in there, a paragraph. Didn't mean to do that. There we are, and we're going to call that destination. This isn't strictly necessary, of course. I'm purely doing this just to illustrate to you how the data is arranged so you can actually see what's going on. We could have actually gone straight into the mapping component at this stage. I'm a great believer in with tutorials, keep it nice and simple, and secondly, try and illustrate as much as you can exactly what you're doing as you're going through it. The last thing we want is the list of waypoints. So if we go into the data query for waypoints, and this hopefully will return, I think it's 7 responses. Fingers crossed. Yes, there they are. So now we've got 3 queries. We're going to have an origin, which tells us Newcastle, and we're going to go in a full circle back to a destination at Newcastle. But on that route, we're going to go to Cheshire, Manchester, Derby, Evesham, London, Reading, and Portsmouth. So let's actually get down to the all-important map sections, because that's really what this tutorial is all about. First thing we're going to do is actually create a map itself. So we're going to components, there we are, Google Maps, and we're actually going to create a nice simple map. I want to center it on about, so let's say Leeds, UK, as a static value. Obviously, if you wanted to go into anything dynamic, we could go into dynamic attributes, Google Maps, and you could set a latitude and longitude or an address. It doesn't actually say, but this applies to the where the map is centered. So you could center it on a dynamic attribute there. So I could be saying centering it on, say, the coordinates of Derby or whatever. But we'll keep it nice and simple for the moment. So we've got a static center to the map. I'm just going to add a few controls into it. So let's throw the kitchen sink in it, shall we, just for the fun of it. Zoom, I think we'll have it about 6, so we've got quite the way out. We're doing a road map. We'll do it 600 high, just to give it a bit more space. And then we've got the API key. Now, obviously, I don't want to show you my full API key, but I think I might have just exposed it, but I'll worry about that later. I'll change it. And then lastly, if we refresh that, we should have a map. Brilliant. Just going to do a quick save there. But of course this isn't about just about maps, this is about directions. So if we go back into our components, we can add Google Directions. Select that map that we've just created. You could at this point simply add, I'll just do it for you, Newcastle, UK to, let's say London, UK via Manchester, UK. And we'd straight away get a static map of that. But that's not what this is all about. This is about using dynamic parameters. So I'm going to take those out, and I'm going to show you how to do it using those data queries that we've previously created. So first of all, it's better. We scroll down to our dynamic attributes, Google Maps, origin, and our origin is, no great surprise, our data query. We're going to do the same for the destination, which is going to be our destination query. I don't know if anybody else gets this, just occasionally I find that the Wappler can go non-responsive for a second or two. And then lastly, we obviously want those waypoints. And that is nothing more complicated than the waypoints query. Let's save that. Do a quick refresh, and don't forget to click the dynamic update. I'm just pausing there because I thought there was another one to click as well. But no. So there we are, we've got the map. We can see in front of us. That's a pretty crude version of it. If I just want to pop that up in the browser. Come on. We seem to have a problem. Oh, that's better. I think I've had an old version cached there, and that's caused a problem. So actually A and B, A is underneath I there, so we go to B to C to D to E to F to G to H. So I said working down the country, and at H we're going to go all the way back to I. There we are, that's the very basics of doing a road trip. So let's now just start playing with that a little bit. So back into Wappler. Is that the best route? I'm not convinced it is. So you see this option here, optimize waypoints. If you do that, then if we save it, it's chosen the route that you will go through, and that's probably not very evident because it's fairly logical what they were doing. There we are, it's better. Just having to refresh the page, you'll see that how the optimization has decided that the most optimal route is to start up here and down to Manchester, down to Cheshire, down to Portsmouth, and then we could back over via London, Leeds, Derby, Leeds, and then back to where we started. So Google has intelligently optimized that route for us. If anybody who is doing delivery type schedules, this would be a marvelous little tool for them to have an optimum delivery schedule. You can also, of course, have alternative routes, etc. So provide alternatives. We'll try that again. I think actually we need to have a draggable route zone for that one as well. So the problem with making up as you go along. You can see those alternative routes appearing there now. Then we can say avoid highways and avoid tolls, and again you see that all of those different routes are automatically changing. If I go back to the maps, you can even ask for it to be a cycle route. Oh, I think it's struggling a bit to work that one out. There's a traffic layer. Oh no, sorry, yeah, they are layers rather than route types. My apologies. We still have the options for your satellites, of course, and your hybrids and your terrain maps that are standard to the map component. Let's go a stage further now. I just want to get rid of that. That's better. Right. Take that traffic layer out. What else can we do? Well, obviously we can have a departure time. So let's say we're going to depart. I'm making this now. It's in England 20 to 3 on the 25th of May. So let's say I'm going tomorrow at 12 o'clock, 12:55 let's say. I mean, that actually won't itself do anything particular. I'm just going to fire it up anyway, just so I can make sure that I've got the most up-to-date version, because I'm having a few problems with this caching, as you can see. But if we go back into things now, what we can actually see is we have an option to add, excuse me 1 second, directions. Once we add directions in, things become a little bit more interesting. Quick page refresh. There we are. Now see that underneath we actually got the directions. There we've got the timings. I've got this set in kilometers at the minute. It's going to take us 7 hours 51 minutes. And there we are, our turn by turn, just like a sat-nav would do. And it shows our waypoints, obviously, as we go through as well. Incredibly powerful tool and incredibly easy to use. What else might we be able to play about with? We'll just go back into there. This will be of interest to UK riggers. He asked about dragging points. Sorry, this doesn't at the moment write back to the database or anything like that, but you can actually have those points draggable as well. I'm not sure whether that fires an event or not. I will have to look into it. Might have to speak to team about that. If we can find an event that's fired on drag effectively, we can then pick up that event and write those details back into a waypoint database. So I'm not saying that it can't be done. I'm just saying that A, I haven't worked it out, and B, maybe there's some new hooks need to be put in there. We'll find out eventually. Right, what else can I ramble on about before we call it a day? I'm in England. I don't like you. I like miles. Thank you. I think that's probably about everything that we can do. Let's have a look just quickly into the dynamic attributes that we've got. We can set dynamically departure time and or arrival time. I'm just going to have a quick look into the events, and I'll be honest, I haven't looked for this, but it doesn't appear, unless that direction's changed, event does it. I'm not quite sure we could pick up to write those back, but I'll look into that because I'm getting nosy now. Last thing I want to do is just to add a couple of new destinations here. Maybe this is a proper road trip, because a proper road trip has got to go everywhere. So I'm going to pop in and see George and his crew at Wappler headquarters in Holland. For those of you who know me, you'll know I lived in France for 5 years. I'm just going to pop back to the old village where I used to live. If ever you watch this, hi Noemi, hiya Pascal. And then I did some work with the German police about 10 years ago on computer-based training, teaching German police officers to speak English using computer-based training methods. So I pop in and see my old friend Volker Feiger, who was neither Sachsen, if I pronounced that correctly, police in Germany. So there we are, we've changed those to include them in the road trip, and with a bit of luck now, if I power that up, I might need a screen refresh, who knows. We hopefully will have, there we are, our international road trip. I've just added those waypoints in. It's worked out we're going to go down the west side of the UK. It knows there's a ferry port there, Calais to Dover, I assume that will be. And then we're going to pop over and say hi to George and Patrick and Theo, and then we're going to pop over to just outside Hanover to go and see our friend in Germany, and then I'm going to pop down to see my friends in France, and that will take us back over that same ferry and up the east side of UK. That is how incredibly simple it is to use the directions component and the mapping component within Wappler. Just another example of why it is such a fabulous product. I think I probably waffled on long enough. I think this is the longest video ever done at 27 minutes. So I'm going to sign off. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll think of what I'm going to do next.